my books just fell down. Hi everyone, my name is Jess and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a life update and also a recent reads because, surprise surprise, I haven't uploaded on this channel in a hot minute. There's a couple of reasons for that, one being busy, two being lazy, and just not really having any inspiration. So to start off with, I'll just give you a bit of a life update. I am in my new flat. I'm living in a student flat with a friend, and being here has just been so crazy, and like I have so much more to do in the everyday, so it kind of impacted my time a little bit. I've also been really busy with uni. Second year is a struggle, but we finished first semester. I got 2 firsts in 2 of my units, which is really good. I'm so happy with them. And second semester has started and we're looking for work placements, we're doing assignments, it's all sorts of stuff going on. So I'm going to get into the books I've read recently. I can't say it's a monthly wrap up because it's been like 5 months and I've barely read anything. So I'm just going to get straight into it. My eyelashes keep sticking to one another. That's another thing. I have eyelashes now and my hair's growing back and I'm making progress. So the first set of books I read over the past few months was the Diviner series by Libba Bray. I don't have a physical copy of them because I haven't actually bought them myself. I read all of them from my local library and I loved them. I knew I was going to love them for so long. Ever since I heard somebody talk about it the first time on BookTube, I knew I would love it, and I did. I fell completely in love with the series. I gave them all 5 out of 5 stars. I've obviously read the first 3. If you don't know, The Diviners is a book series, like a fantasy realism series set in 1920s in New York. So it's really cool, a lot of jazz, a lot of like flappers and stuff like that. And it follows a group of people called the Diviners who have powers, and they all interact. In the first book, it's all them meeting, and the main character Evie, she lived in Ohio, but her power got her into some trouble, so her parents moved home with her uncle who owns a museum of superstition and stuff like that. So she moves in with him and that's where they all meet. It's all about how they find out where their powers came from and their interactions with each other, and also the story of them fighting this really bad guy. In the first book there's a series of murders that happened and them finding out who did it and defeating them, and then in the second and third books it's more about a big bad that they're gonna fight in the last book, I presume. And it's kind of supernatural, paranormal, mixed with fantasy and sci-fi, and it's a really big mix of stuff. The characters and their interactions were my favourite part of this series. I absolutely adore when there's a set of characters that just interact and they're funny and they're realistic and they all like just get on with each other, but then they also have the fights and stuff like that. Like, the interactions were my favourite part of this story. They are so funny, all the characters are incredible. Like, the actual characters themselves are so diverse and different and interesting. There's a lot of rep in this story, including disability, race, religion, all sorts going on. Sexuality, but it's never like stated as it sometimes is in like contemporary novels. If you want me to do a full spoiler-full review of the Diviner series, let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely do that because I love this series so much and I identified a lot with a lot of the characters. As I mentioned when I was describing it, sometimes the series does not know what genre it is and it kind of gets a bit confusing because you think it's you know, magical realism or, you know, paranormal supernatural, but then it turns on its head and it turns out it's like sci-fi instead, and it's a bit weird in that sense, but not necessarily bad. I think sometimes there's a bit too much emphasis on the relationships and love interests of the group together, and I don't love that. I love when characters can just be by themselves and deal with their own stuff. Even a character that I thought definitely would not be interested in anyone ended up being interested in someone and kind of having a thing with them, and I wasn't really about that. There was a whole section of the last book that literally was just everybody getting together at the same time, and it was really weird, so I didn't love that. The atmosphere and the scene setting in this book, or in this series, sorry, is so incredible. Like, there's scenes that feel like a movie playing in your head, and it's effortless. Like it just comes together, and it's so amazing. And I really, really commend her. She's got a beautiful writing style, and I cannot wait to read more of her stuff. I gave the Divinest series a 5 out of 5. I really, really loved it, and I cannot wait for the last book. The next book that I've read recently was The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is the sequel to The Gentleman's Guide of Vice and Virtue, and it follows Felicity, who is the sister of the main character of A Gentleman's Guide, and her experience trying to become a doctor in a time, I think it's set in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, in a time where everything was dominated by men, and she wasn't even allowed to enter a hospital without being a patient or a nurse, and that sort of thing, and her trying to gain her name and get educated. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this book, not as much as the last one, I don't think, because the last one was such a, like the shock of it was just the best part of it, like the surprise that you gained from what it was. I would say this is an adventure book. It's historical fiction, but it's like adventure, it's fun, their interactions are great. Again, the characters are fantastic. Felicity is a brilliantly strong female character, and I really love her. She knows exactly what she wants, and she isn't afraid to go and get it and say it. One thing that I didn't love was the fact that, I know I'm gonna get shit for this, but it seemed a bit unrealistic. Her views and opinions, while very accurate to today and how women are today, I don't think she would have had those thoughts and opinions at this time, purely because that she wouldn't, I'm not saying she wouldn't have had an original thought, but she wouldn't have had such developed original thoughts around feminism and everything at this time. So I felt it was slightly unrealistic, but then again, I wasn't alive during that time. I don't know anything, so it might just be something that I've found. Another thing was I felt it was slightly pandery to the audience, which obviously every book has to be. You want to make your audience buy the book and love it, but it was slightly pandery with some of the stuff that was in it. I won't say what because it's spoilery, but yeah, I felt like at times the stuff in the story was just there because this particular audience would really like it. But on the whole, I loved the fact that there wasn't any love in this story. Like there kind of was, but there also wasn't really, and I love stories without love interest at the moment. I want a fun story without a lot of romance, and it was an incredible fun for this. Like, this book was so much fun to read. The adventures that Mackenzie Lee writes are amazing, and the stories themselves are always so creative, and historical accuracy in it is great as well. The last book that I read most recently is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I have had this since it came out. I had it pre-ordered and I just didn't get around to it quick enough. I'm so sad that I didn't because I loved this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I know I just said that I'm not loving romance at the moment, but this romance was brilliant. I love both of these authors. If you don't know, Becky Albertalli is the author of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which is the book of Love, Simon, and Adam Silvera is a famous queer contemporary writer who wrote They Both Die at the End and some other books that I can't think of right now. This story basically follows two boys, Ben and Arthur. Arthur has just moved to New York for the summer to work at his mum's law firm as an intern, and Ben has just had a terrible breakup with his first boyfriend, and they meet by chance at the post office. They don't get each other's numbers, and only one of them knows the other's name. But Arthur feels like it was destiny. They both kind of feel a bit strange about it, like something was there. So the story follows their attempt at rekindling and finding each other, and the first part of the book is so great because they just keep missing each other, and it's just so cute, and like you just keep wanting them to find each other, and you're like, come on, like just go down that street, or like just do it and then you'll find each other, and then they do find each other, spoiler. And their relationship as it grows and changes, and all of their friends and everything. It's such a cute story. I loved both of the characters. They're so defined, and like their interactions I feel were so accurate to like real people, if that makes sense. A lot of the time you get these like idealized characters that just are perfect for each other, but these two really their clashes are realistic and their fights and their wishes and everything. I found it so lovely to read. It's a fantastic contemporary novel by two fantastic authors. It doesn't make a big deal of the fact that it's a LGBT plus novel. Obviously these characters are gay, and it doesn't make a big deal of it. There's one scene that kind of makes a big deal out of the gay thing, and it's done so well. It's a very serious scene, but it is done fantastically, and both of these writers know how to deal with serious topics such as homophobia. The side characters are also great. They really added stuff to the story for both of them, both of their friends, both of their family. I loved all the interactions with them. Sometimes the writing was slightly cringy. I have found that with both of these authors before, particularly Becky Albertalli. Like, I love her writing and everything she does is so cute and fun, but sometimes the references to real world stuff kind of make me cringe a little bit, but that's just a personal preference. There's a couple of scenes in here which I absolutely adore. Arthur's love for Broadway shows like Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen are so fun. It was such a great collaborative effort by these two. Those were the books that I read recently. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you've been reading recently and what videos you would want me to do in the future. I will see you next time, I guess. Bye!